But in October 16, Oliver had another cluster of focal partial seizures, and this time he was admitted to a different general hospital. This time we were prepared, and we gave the neurologist a small file of supporting letters, including a hospital passport, stating Oliver's previous adverse reactions to antipsychotic medications. And this was subsequently written in bold red ink on Oliver's medical care sheets and drug charts that he was intolerant to all forms of antipsychotic medications. And he even followed this up in an email to all doctors treating Oliver. Oliver was intubated to facilitate an MRI scan to see why he was having seizures, and a safeguarding officer was consulted on how to manage Oliver's anxiety when sedation was reduced. After consultation with ourselves and looking through those previous letters, his advice to the doctors was an absolute non-pharmaceutical approach. And we were told that we absolutely should be present when sedation was reduced so that we'd be able to reassure and comfort Oliver. This advice wasn't listened to, and sedation was reduced while we weren't there. Can you imagine how Oliver would have felt waking up to find tubes down his throat, crowds of people stood over him that he didn't know? That was also the last opportunity I had to look my son in the eye and tell him just how much I loved him, and that he was there because of his seizures, and that he was safe, and that everything was going to be okay. But it wasn't okay, was it? Now, we were consulted by a neuropsychiatrist, and she asked us about giving Oliver an antipsychotic medication, and we made it absolutely clear to her about Oliver's previous reactions to this type of medication. And we showed her the letters from previous consultant doctors, and we told her that she did not have our, and more importantly, Oliver's permission to administer any antipsychotic medications. Oliver had made an advanced verbal decision stating to ambulance staff and doctors in A&E that he was not to be given antipsychotic medications, and he gave good reasons, saying, "They mess with my brain and they make my eyes roll up." Oliver clearly had capacity to be able to refer back to the dystonic reaction he'd had just a few months previously. Now, despite this, and without our knowledge, Oliver was given antipsychotic medication that evening. Over the next few days, Oliver developed a temperature of 43 degrees. The doctors couldn't understand the decline in Oliver's condition, and they sent him for a scan of his liver and his lungs. Oliver was now having tonic-clonic seizures despite heavy sedation and paralysis drugs. We were terrified, because Oliver didn't have these type of seizures. And it was at this point that we begged the doctors to please do a scan of his brain. And we explained to them that, he couldn't afford any further damage to his brain. And we were told not to be concerned. They weren't concerned, and neither should we. But 2 days later, doctors told us they were sending Oliver for an emergency MRI scan of his brain, as one of his pupils was very slow to react. When Oliver returned, we instantly saw the worried expression on the ICU consultant's face, and we were taken to the side room that nobody ever wants to enter. And we were told that Oliver's brain was so badly swollen, it was bulging out the base of his skull. The neurosurgeons and the emergency doctors told us Oliver had neuroleptic malignant syndrome, a serious side effect of those very antipsychotic medications that Oliver had asked not to be given. We were told that Oliver's brain was now so badly damaged that he would be profoundly disabled. There'd be no more speech. There was no more understanding of language. He'd have no way of communicating. Oliver would now be reliant on a tracheotomy, and he'd be tube-fed for the rest of his life. My boy, my Oliver, was now paralysed. There was no more representing his country in athletics or football. That beautiful smile, that sense of humour, and those wise words of wisdom. They were gone forever. My boy was silenced.